Have you ever thought about why bad things happen to good people? Today, we're going to explore a profound conversation between God and Satan from the book of Job. Satan pointed out that Job was protected in every way, with his family, his home, and his possessions thriving under God's blessings. He argued that Job was only faithful because of these blessings. "You've placed a hedge around him, his household, and everything he owns," Satan said. "You've blessed the work of his hands, and his flocks have spread across the land." These dialogues are found in the book of Job, chapter 1, verses 6 through 10. Satan challenged God, saying that if he were allowed to bring suffering upon Job, Job would surely curse God. God permitted Satan to test Job, allowing him to inflict pain but forbidding him from taking Job's life. "But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face," Satan said. And God replied, "Very well, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." So Satan left the presence of the Lord. This is from the book of Job, chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. On a single day, Job received 4 devastating messages. First, he was told that his oxen and donkeys were stolen by raiders, and his servants were killed. Then, another messenger came, saying, "The fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." As that messenger was speaking, another arrived to tell Job that the Chaldeans had raided his camels and killed his servants. Finally, a fourth messenger brought the worst news of all. Job's sons and daughters, while feasting in the home of their eldest brother, were killed when a mighty wind collapsed the house. These tragic events are described in Job chapter 1, verses 13 to 19. Job mourned deeply, tearing his clothes and shaving his head. But despite his grief, he continued to praise God. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." In all this, Job did not sin by blaming God. In chapter 2, Satan appeared before God once again. This time, God allowed Satan to afflict Job's body. Though Job's life was still to be spared, Job developed painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. His wife urged him to curse God and give up, but Job refused. At this point, 2 plots are unfolding, one in the heavens and one on earth. What happens on earth is a reflection of the heavenly battle, much like the warfare described in Revelation. Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, came to comfort him. They sat with him in silence for 7 days, sharing his grief. But on the 7th day, Job spoke, cursing the day he was born and comparing life to light and death to darkness. Eliphaz was the first to respond. He reminded Job that, while Job had once consoled others, he was now struggling to understand their suffering. Eliphaz suggested that Job's pain must be a result of some sin and urged him to seek God's favor. Bildad and Zophar agreed, reasoning that Job must have done something wrong to provoke God's justice. Bildad even implied that Job's children brought their own deaths upon themselves, and Zophar hinted that Job deserved even more punishment than what he received. Job was angered by his friends' accusations, calling them worthless physicians who offered no real help. "What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you," he said, "but I desire to speak to the Almighty and to argue my case with God." Job couldn't understand why God would judge humanity for its actions when he could easily forgive or correct them. Job acknowledged that God's ways are mysterious, far beyond human comprehension. He knew that no one could win an argument with God, who sees everything, even the depths of a person's heart. Despite his turmoil, Job held on to the hope that he had a witness in heaven, a Redeemer who would testify to his innocence. "I know that my Redeemer lives, and in the end he will stand upon the earth," Job declared in chapter 19, verse 25. And in chapter 16, verse 19, he said, "Even now my witness is in heaven, my advocate is on high." Job's suffering pushed him to the edge. He became bitter, anxious, and afraid. He lamented the injustice of the wicked prospering, while the righteous, like him, suffered. Job wanted to confront God, but couldn't find him. He believed that true wisdom was hidden from humanity, yet resolved to continue pursuing it by fearing God and avoiding evil. "You have created a protective barrier around him, his family, and all that he possesses. You have blessed the work of his hands, and his flocks and herds thrive across the land. These words are part of the exchange between God and Satan found in the book of Job, chapter 1, verses 6 to 10. He yearns for a mediator to bridge the gap between him and God, so he wouldn't be condemned to Sheol, the underworld. Job believes there is a witness in heaven, a redeemer who will vouch for his integrity. He voices this conviction in chapter 19, verse 25. I know that my Redeemer lives, and in the end he will stand on the earth. And again in chapter 16, verse 19. Even now my witness is in heaven. My advocate is on high. As Job's anguish becomes unbearable, he grows increasingly bitter, anxious, and fearful. He laments the seeming injustice of God allowing the wicked to thrive while he and countless honest individuals endure suffering. Job longs to confront God and voice his grievances but cannot locate him physically. He believes that wisdom remains elusive to humanity, but resolves to seek it, fearing God and avoiding evil. In his sorrow, Job tore his garments and shaved his head, yet he continued to offer praise to God through his prayers. After rising, he tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground in worship, proclaiming, I came into this world naked from my mother's womb, and I will leave this world naked. The Lord has given, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Despite all this, Job did not sin or accuse God of any wrongdoing. This response from Job is documented in the book of Job, chapter 1, verses 20 to 22. Once again, Satan appeared in heaven, and God granted him another chance to test Job. This time, Job was afflicted with painful skin sores. Job's wife urged him to curse God and abandon his life, but he resisted and strove to bear his suffering. The narrative intricately weaves together two threads, one divine and the other earthly. The calamities on earth stem from events that transpired in heaven, much like the conflicts on earth that follow battles fought in the heavenly realms, as illustrated in the book of Revelation. 3 of Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, arrived to console him, sitting with him in silence for 7 days out of respect for his mourning. On the 7th day, Job spoke, initiating a dialogue where each of the 4 men poetically expressed their interpretations of his struggles. Job cursed the day he was born, likening life and death to light and darkness. He wished he had never come into existence and that his birth had been enveloped in shadow, believing that life only magnified his suffering. Eliphaz responded by pointing out that Job, who once provided comfort to others, now admitted he was never truly aware of their pain. He concluded that Job's suffering must be a result of some sin and advised him to seek God's favor. Bildad and Zophar concurred, insisting that Job must have committed an offense to provoke God's justice and encouraged him to exhibit more innocent behavior. Bildad suggested that Job's children had brought their demise upon themselves. Even more harshly, Zophar implied that any sin committed by Job warranted even greater suffering than what he had endured. Annoyed by their remarks, Job referred to his friends as worthless healers, who disguised their so-called assistance with deception. This exchange is recorded in the book of Job, chapter 13, verses 1 to 4. My ears have heard and comprehended all this. What you know I know as well. I am not inferior to you. But I long to speak to the Almighty and present my case to God. Yet you smear me with falsehoods. You are all worthless physicians. Job pondered why God judges humanity based on their actions when he could easily amend or forgive those actions. He was bewildered by how any human could fully meet God's justice, given that God's ways are profound and beyond human comprehension.